Hi, friends. They call me Host Eric, host of Talking with Famous People, and butt noisemaker extraordinaire. Have you ever been a Townsperson B? I was watching Haikyuu last night, and there's this excellent episode where there's this new girl who wants to become maybe part of the team manager. And she says, I can't be team manager. I'm Townsperson B. I try out for a play. I want to get the lead role, maybe a supporting role, and I always get cast as Townsperson B. I love amazing facts. I just woke up a little while ago. I'm feeling pretty good. Thinking about Townsperson B. It's such a great metaphor for, for failing or falling short of your hopes. Do INFPs have glassy eyes? Put enough drugs in anybody, they got glassy eyes. So, it's like typology has its own Townsperson B. Nobody really wants to be an ISTJ. It's like the Townsperson B of typology. But it's just like they said in Haikyuu. Townsperson B has its own kind of awesome. You can't always be Cinderella in the play of Cinderella. Sometimes you just got to be a Townsperson B. Sure. If you want to do that, that's fine. Or you could just come talk to me right now. And if you want to. What I think's funny is that Rachel knew about you before you came around here. My Gmail, it's ssuartscire@gmail.com. Or you can just go to there and talk to me right now if you want. But anyway, I think it's really cool that Rachel knew about you before you came around here. That means you're important in some fashion. Happy Thanksgiving indeed. I would point out that I like to call it Savage Civilization Day, Savage Civilizing Day. Day where we celebrate the Europeans coming over and civilizing the savages. Civilization, great place, full of towns. Happy Trail of Tears Day. Why don't we have a Trail of Tears Day, right? What, are we not proud of that? Hey, you know what, Ghost? At least the Trail of Tears made the history books. Even back in my day, I read about it. It's not like It's not been a complete whitewash. That's good, right? First of all, Sky Gear, let me just say I like the way you're thinking. I like that thinking. And indeed, one of the best things about illegal drugs is that they allow people without any skills really to make a lot of money potentially. The key thing is you probably want to increase your propensity for violence somewhat. I don't know how violent you are now, but apparently with contraband things where there's no legal markets, things get a little shady. That's a start, Sky Gear. That's a start. Yeah, I once made a couple grand in college off of a harvest that I grew. I grew weed in not Hollywood, in Santa Cruz, and I had a deal with this guy. He had the plants and the lights, or the seedlings and the lights. I had the space. He had the fertilizer and stuff, and knew what he was doing. And he came and helped me set it up, show me what to do, and then I grew the plants with the lights. And he said, "Okay, now put them on 12-12, 12-12," and they came out great. You know, we got a lot of good weed out of it, and we split the harvest right in two, and I ended up selling most of mine. And I ended up buying a nice custom wetsuit, which I had for quite a while. An ugly wetsuit, I must say. I picked terrible colors, but it fit me perfectly, you know, because it was custom made for me. Then I outgrew it, of course, because that was, yeah, you do get a little bit more buffed out as you get older, even if you're a skinny guy like me. Hello, self, utter self. So happy, let's pretend to be grateful day. I am grateful. I'm grateful for many, many things. However, I could be a little bit more grateful. I had like 10 milligrams of Adderall in me. It is my sleepy week for sure, and I need my sleepy week to rebuild my dopamine. And yet, I also think, well, if I had like just 10 milligrams right now, that sure would be nice, because it would just sort of pick me up without thwacking me at all. But you know, it was supposed to be. It got put off. It's like every once in a while, something like this will happen. It'd be like, okay, it's sleepy week time. And, you know, since I announced sleepy week last week, I have never had more people, more offers for free speed. You know, it's like, and I've had to turn them down the last couple of days because I just like, no, I need my goddamn sleepy week. I don't want any more free Adderall. Thank you, though. I'll wait till I get my new bottle. It's like, Eric, do you want to be a drug addict or not? If you want to be a drug addict, then go ahead and get more Adderall before you get your own bottle again and stay up and be all like, oh. But you don't really want to do that. It's not fun is the problem. Adderall is not a fun drug once you've been up on it for a long time, you know? It's not ever fun. It's not a fun drug. It's just it's an intensity. Right. Last week was a fuck it, I'll sleep next year week. The other thing is as you get older, you can handle less intense binges and stuff. So when I was in my 30s, I could go for days, you know. Hold on. Is there an organ bundling deal that I'm not aware of? Because I like to be the first one informed about that. This guy to give me the chance to get it before anybody else jumps on it. I'm collecting those. I also am. My goal is to use a kidney, an actual kidney, to help me design a kidney-shaped swimming pool. I want it to look like a real kidney. How's Rachel doing? She's doing great. I'm currently enjoying the this guy here. Do I look like the kind of guy who wants to do the work himself? No. That's why we have gardeners. So yeah, right now I'm picking peanut shell bits off of the couch because Rachel's like a little squirrel in bed when she's out here. She likes to snack as she sleeps, I guess. And there's peanut shells all over the place. And of course I come outside and say, okay, can we switch rooms? Because every night we basically pick which room we want to sleep in because neither of us want to sleep in the same room. Rachel can't handle it because of her FE tool. In fact, she'd been sleeping on the floor in the bedroom quite a bit, saying to me that she prefers to sleep on the floor because she didn't really say why. Turns out that she just can't sleep in the same bed with me because of the FE tool function. It makes her worry about whether she's moving around and bothering me or something. So in the end, we just said, fuck it, let's just sleep in separate rooms, Why are we even in the same room? And usually I sleep out here because usually I go to bed later than she does. But last night I went to bed first, so I slept in the bed inside. And, we were going to have sexual intercourse. I was like, let's go inside and have sexual intercourse. But then by the time I got in there, I was like, I don't even want to because I don't want to take a shower and I want to have proper sexual intercourse, which involves taking a shower because, again, FE. I don't want to be thinking about FE stuff, So I just went to sleep. Let me tell you, she's a frisky little minx, as they used to say in the old cartoons. She's a frisky little minx. Anyhow, I slept all night. I slept from like 8 p.m. till like 7 a.m. Yeah. I mean, not only can I not complain, it's like, oh, that's why people like sex so much. Because, always heretofore, before Rachel, I'd always said to myself, look, Eric, you're a smart guy. So you know enough to not get with a girl because you think she's hot or whatever. You're looking for the woman, the reliable woman that you want to be with. So, you got an advantage because you're not as looks focused, so you can pick a better person or something. Well, the fact is, in a relationship, you should pick somebody. You should try to get with somebody that you're genuinely attracted to. You feel like score, It's a certain amount of greediness that you need to have, to get it right. Everybody, like, intuitives are probably all like, well, I'm destined to aim. I'm certain to not aim above my league, quote unquote. That's a silly notion. You decide what league you're in by by fiat. It's just a matter of whether you believe it or not. Where's Grass Eater? Where's K-pop? K-pop, dude. I don't know who K-pop is. Makes me happy that somebody's calling for Grass Eater. He's not necessarily always the most popular one around here. Hi, Tiny Man 66. Hearts to you too. They're right in the middle of your chest. You should really only have one of them. Grass Eater? I mean, he was here yesterday. Well, Fate Wind, I regret to tell you something. You've been cast as Townsperson B. Fate Wind was going for the role of Romeo/Juliet. It's a new interpretation of Romeo and Juliet, in which Romeo and Juliet are the same person, transgendered person. Fate Wind was hoping for the lead role, but got cast as Townsperson B. But what I want to stress to everybody here is, hey, we've all been cast before as Townsperson B. We've all had our Townsperson B moment, okay? Where you go in there, you think, yeah, I'm gonna kick ass, I'm gonna stand out, I'm gonna be the number one. And then what happens? You get cast as Townsperson B. Razor M, is it possible that you're a Grass Eater? Right. What can you do when you're Townsperson B? You be the best Townsperson B there is. I've never seen Townsperson B played with such pizzazz, is what the audience should say. So instead of like just walking around regularly like Townsperson B, go. So you really stand out on the stage. It's true, Sky Gear, that there's only one Townsperson B, but there are also Townspersons A, C, and D. So you really want to stand out from them, I think, because those are your real competition. You're going to be like, hey, I'm not just a townsperson. I'm a townsperson that walks funny. Okay, so again, for the record, Townsperson B is the name of an episode of Haikyuu. I already told you, utter self. I had totally forgotten about it by now, obviously. But what I'm saying to you, utter self, is you'd be better off. We'd be better off for you to take the song that I already have written out that I don't have a good recording of, send you the guitar parts and the vocals, and then you don't have to be creative in what you're doing, right? You don't have to be creative in terms of what this final product thing is. If it fails, it'll mostly fail because the song's not good enough, not because of anything you did, you know? Have you noticed that government is limiting gatherings for Thanksgiving? We don't care about Black Friday at all. I haven't noticed that, but one thing that I have learned about COVID over the course of this 2020 is that COVID is a nocturnal hunter. That's why we have curfews, obviously. And that COVID loves sporting events. That's why we can't go to anymore. What am I thankful for today? Oh, gosh. I mean, I'm so generally and genuinely broadly grateful. It's hard to specify. I understand how lucky I am, you know? I'm grateful for the green screen. True that. True that. Razor M's grateful for nutting. Oh, good. Maybe that's what I'll say during my Thanksgiving dinner, too. No, it's not too much to ask for yourself or yourself, but it is probably not a good idea to compare yourself against that standard. Let's all take a moment of silence for the hermaphrodites out there. Sorry you can't nut. Am I ever going to use the green screen on live? I use the green screen on live all the time. Just every once in a while. Skygear is not sure how COVID reached a secluded village in Bulgaria to infect his family member. Oh, is that true? Hermaphrodites can nut in 2 different ways? Interesting. No flicking the bean December? When's your next debate? I want to see you do ENTP stuff. I don't know. I'm rather tired right now still. I'll probably be wakeful again in 4 or 5 days. Fully raring to go. Maybe less time than that. I got a typing this morning at 10 a.m. And then I got Thanksgiving stuff. Can you join the typing? No. It's a client. No, it's a paying client. If it were not a paying client, I would say sure. But I I try to give people what they pay for and not other stuff. It's sometimes the case, but not always, and I don't know about this client, that they want to talk to me privately. And since this client set it up with me via the phone, there's a decent chance they don't want Isaiah Rude there. Which means there's a decent chance they want it private. I'm behind with my bills. I do need to pay the internet bill, but I wouldn't quite call myself behind on it yet. Sometimes I pay it every 2 months. I mean, there really needs to be a diagnosis of needs to get shit done, right? And then you can get prescribed Adderall for that. So Fate Win says, I read in a book that you're the leader type of ENTP. You tend to go towards conflict and decent direction. Well, I'm a 784 ENTP, which means that I'm avoidant of fear. I'm confrontational some of the time. And I'm not really subject to being moved very much by social mores. So, I took this test by, I forget the lady's name. It's a relationship compatibility test. And it tells you whether you are a director, explorer, builder, or maybe like a nurturer or something. I don't remember what the last one is. But that test told me I was director first, explorer second. So that would be somewhat consistent with what Fate Wind is saying. I don't really believe myself to be director first, explorer second. But I think the most important thing to note is that if the subtype of ENTP is derived via some sort of cognitive function model, it's nonsense. Now, there may be subtypes like that, but they're not subtypes for the reasons explained if it's from Galenko's book. Well, no, I'm not wrong again. I mean, the other thing is when you say I'm wrong again, you seem to have forgotten every single one of our previous engagements in which I've not been wrong. So, yeah, the thing about cognitive functions is they're about locality suppression. Socionics is where I got that basic notion from, by the way. Because of Enneagram type. Enneagram type in particulars. So, for example, different oranges are different sizes, different colors of orange even, on the same tree. Why is that? Well, partially it's because of particularist reasons. Some of them get more sun, some of them don't. And partially it's because of natural variation within the type, right? But the other thing is there are subtypes in a way of cognitive function types, but that's Enneagram and it's different. No, it's not dependent on the strengths of the functions. Absolutely not. So the fact that you interpreted what I just said as meaning that means we can eliminate you as possibly correct. No, it's not. Saying that one takes a adversarial approach to conflict or adversary, as I am now, has nothing to do with the strengths of the functions. Okay, remembering, of course, that people grow and become a more realized individual over time. Nothing I'm saying is in dispute of me appearing to quote unquote have stronger FE or appearing to quote unquote have more developed FI, a TI. Last night I was working with my student. Unfortunately, I fucked up the audio on it. I recorded this section in which I was trying to train the NE out of him, basically train him into NI. The point was this. You are trying to position the goal as the means to get there. You're saying that because we've not achieved the goal yet, there must be something wrong with the goal. But what I'm saying is that there's something wrong with the means to get there. That was the point I was trying to get him to make, okay? He blah, 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 blah it in so many different ways that it was impossible for me for anybody to pull away the NI from it. Now, am I stronger in my introverted intuition than him? No. I'm a debate coach who understands how to debate well. Does that require an ENTP to master certain NI skills or display them anyway? Yes. Does that mean that they're using their cognitive functions differently? No. Huge, huge mistake to think that. That means you don't understand what a cognitive function is. I was thinking about making a video about how damning it is to call cognitive functions functions. How wrong it is. That the metaphor breaks down and misleads for every function type except deliberation. Deliberation works like that. It works like a decision to execute a function on objects. Knowledge doesn't work like that. It's received. It doesn't work like a function. So, of course, with socionics, you get this notion that cognitive functions are information metabolizers. Well, of course, that's what you think. Because if you think they're functions, that's what functions are. But not all cognitive functions are functions. So, this is one of the things I was considering. I was considering making a video about, trying to explain why people are often so wrong. Because Fate Wind, you can call it a subtype if you'd like. You could also say that that females are a subtype of right-handed people. Right? We could say that. We could say females are a subtype of right-handed people. And that would make as much sense as what Fate Wind is saying. Because, of course, females aren't a subtype of right-handed people. Right-handed people are a subtype of females. To which I can only add, no fucking doy. Non-responsive, Fate. Non-responsive. I'm not saying that you can't taxonomy people into different categories. I'm saying whether or not that taxonomy is meaningful depends on whether you do it correctly. So what you're saying is that women are a subtype of right-handed people, but that's incorrect for good reasons. And most importantly, even if you are to correctly say that right-handed women are a subtype of women, you're still missing the point. Handedness and gender have nothing to do with each other. What would I call it? My penis, of course. That's what I'd call it. Why do we prioritize gender over left-handedness? That's a good question. What I'm saying is that a right-handed woman is a kind of woman, right? Whereas a woman is not a kind of right-handedness. You know, a person is first, then the attribute. But regardless, the point is gender and handedness have nothing to do with each other. So even if you were to get the set logic correct, it doesn't mean anything. 520 outer self. I've got 520 subtypes of my penis. It depends on its mood. Right now it's in cold and scrunchy mood. Pretty chilly. It's hugging up tight next to my body. It's trying to suck itself back in, you know. Cognitive functions and people do correlate with human behavior. Well, yeah. I mean, if what you're saying is that ENTPs behave differently than INTPs in general, then you're correct. But whether or not that correlation is accurate, it's not a way to determine an individual's type, obviously, because it's like saying, well, in general, men are hairier than women. But then you get some super hairy woman and some mostly hairless Asian man and stand next to each other and try to judge who's a man and who's a woman based on who's hairier, you're going to be wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying, Fate Wind? Yeah, but see, the thing is, you keep focusing on hairiness. I'm saying we don't have to use hairiness. We can actually use for things that correlate directly with gender. Things like, let's see if they have a penis. Things like, let's check to see if there's an X and a Y chromosome or just two X chromosomes. Those are things that actually link to gender. And you're saying, let's use shit that doesn't actually link to gender and pretend it does because there's a correlation. See what I'm saying? It's true. Men tend to be taller than women. That's not a good reason to use height to distinguish between them. Because what's going to happen fairly often, it's going to mislead you into the wrong conclusion. The good news is we don't have to just use correlations. We can actually do process analyses, which is immensely superior in every way. Hi, MC McPhee. Hi, Lauren McGinley. Fate Wind is here again with their extroverted intuition and introverted feeling and disdain for good thinking. That's why I behave so differently than Jack. What's why? Because I use my cognitive functions differently? Because I use more meh and less meh? I mean, you can think that. Go ahead and continue to think that. I've already explained why you're wrong, and you've ignored what I've said. So that means you either don't know how to think or don't want to think. Either way, I don't give a fuck. Because it's not like you have to agree with me to think well, but you're non-responsive. People who are non-responsive, I'm done talking to them at a certain point. I've explained to them why they're wrong. No, Fate Wind. I've explained to you why you're wrong. You've been non-responsive to what I've said. I've responded to what you said. So there's no point in talking to you anymore. Then answer what I say. I don't like being ignored either. I think the answer for the difference is you can email me or you can, email me is best. Here's my email. So, I mean, I think the explanation as to why individual ENTPs differ from one another is as simple as a couple of things. Enneagram plus particulars differences, Razor M, I'm pretty confident that Fate Wind is just trolling. So, I mean, because they've had plenty of opportunity to respond to what I said. They're playing that ground shifting game where they just ignore what I say and then ask a slightly different question or something and don't incorporate new information at all. So when you either can't or won't think well enough to have a real conversation with me, then fuck it, I'm not going to waste my time. Bella. Ciao, Bella. Here's your Italian food. MC McPhee for sure. HBU. What's HBU mean? Oh, how about you? I didn't answer his question clearly. What are you talking about? Which question didn't I answer? Which question didn't I answer clearly? What accounts for the difference? I did. I said Enneagram and particulars differences. Ssuartscire is a stripper name. It's Eric Strauss backwards. I deleted him. I put him on timeout. My stripper name is Misty Breastage. Misty Breastage is my stripper name. Come see me, Misty Breastage, at of course, I think cognitive functions lead to differences in behavior, different development of cognitive functions. So, in other words, if I were raised in a home, if I had been raised in a home that was consistently countervaluing my my extroverted intuition and my introverted thinking, then I'd be a lot more resentful as an result. I'd probably be more withdrawn, or I'd be a lot more angry, or I'd be angry in different ways. So obviously, how you're raised matters. I think if my understanding of cognitive functions is correct, then in some sense, you'd be less impacted by negative early experiences if you were SI polar than if you were not. But I mean, you can see dramatic difference in behavior between Sean and Zandy, both of whom were in the room the other day, and both of whom are ENFJs. Now, it's possible that Zandy's an INFJ and has herself mistyped, but I actually do believe she's an ENFJ. She's a much quieter ENFJ. She's also, I think you might say, in general, more successful with her FE. But Sean had a much more Sean had a very abusive childhood, it sounds like, from what he said. And so you can see the difference in the behavior. Does it mean that Sean's using FE more than Zandy? No. Does it mean he's using it less? No. It's a misunderstanding of the function, right? Extroverted feeling is interactive. It's attending to how things are impacting the other person. It's paying attention to the other person. FE can be as simple as Rachel being unable to sleep in the same bed with me, and me having a more difficult time sleeping in the same bed with her. Why? Because we are aware of each other and are afraid of disturbing each other's comfort. It's an FE frame of reference. Note how difficult it is for an external party to measure whether or not you're using extroverted feeling. Is Zandy using it when being quiet? Yes. Is Sean using it when talking a lot? Yes. But Eric, how could that be? You don't understand cognitive functions, if you're asking me that question. You don't understand them at all. It's like, and if somebody is stubbornly trying to not understand, stubbornly trying to advocate a position that's so deeply wrong that I have to go back to the very beginning to explain things, then it's a waste of my time. People will often come in here and they'll say, I'm a certain type of ENTP. They say, well, you clearly have more FE than most ENTPs, Eric. Well, I'm very proud to hear that when I do hear that, because it means I'm doing a better job of being likable. And then other times people come in and say, well, you're clearly a TI subtype of ENTP, Eric. Look at how you're yelling at people and busting their chops. That's terrible, FE. And I'll go, okay. And then I have to go, well, you're clearly an extroverted intuitive subtype of ENTP, Eric, because you make so much random shit. And I go, okay. So, it's like people touching the elephant and going, elephants are a little tail. Elephants are hard hoof. Elephants are a wet trunk. No. You're about to get treated like a Townsperson C, Fateland. You know what happens to Townsperson C, right? They don't even get to do a funny walk. That's true. I am a male subtype of the ENTP. It's mostly because of my my external genitals. No, you don't have to stay in the background. Just don't shit on the stage. Okay? You know? There's a big difference between being quiet, staying in the background or whatever, and shitting on the stage. When you initiate a disagreement about a point, and I give you a clear and distinct answer to it, and then you ignore that answer and proceed forward with a different argument, that's shitting on the stage. Well, Cloud, I will tell you, if you want to get a guitar that makes it a lot easier to learn how to play, then you should get an electric guitar, because you don't need nearly as much finger strength to play the electric guitar. You want the most complex guitar? They're all equally complex. They have 6 strings and however many frets. I mean, my point of argument was simply that just because a cognitive function displays very differently doesn't mean somebody's not using it or using it or something. You know, it's not like that. Yeah, okay, CJ O'Connell, you win. A 12 string is more complicated than a 6 string. Get a pianica? That's not complication, though, Cloud. That's difficulty. I agree that it's more difficult, but see, that's not a good thing, Cloud. Look, I have a guitar that's very difficult to play. I wish I had a better guitar that's a lot easier to play, because you'll be able to play better and better things, you know? I mean, like, why you might as well, why not just also get purposefully high action? Why just thicker strings? Why not higher action so that it's really difficult for you to play? An instrument is fundamentally a barrier between you and expressing yourself. Getting good at an instrument means reducing that barrier as much as possible. The least barrier instrument is singing, because music is not sports. That's why. Not everything is a skill that you. The best guitar player is not the most skilled guitar player at all. You know, most frequently, people who have developed too sophisticated of skills, too complicated skills, of course not. No. I mean, typically they make terrible music. Is golf a sport or a hobby? I'm assuming you mean OLF and HOBBY. Golf's a sport. and a hobby. It depends on how you're playing it, I guess. Well, like, I disagree with Ghost. I don't think that the most successful artistically is subjective. I think that's an objective matter, but I don't think that it's something about which we can win the argument. So, like, you look at the Violent Femmes first record, right? That guy can barely play the guitar at all, but it's still a pretty damn good record, especially for the time. You and Lauren need my help. Well, I'm currently right here. It's like Lou, no, not Lou Reed. Who said it? Arlo Guthrie or his dad? Who's Arlo Guthrie's dad? Something Guthrie. He said, if you're using more than 4 chords, you're just showing off. And, I think that's exaggerated, but not completely untrue. Hi, Lauren McGinley.
Hello.
Hi, Lauren McGinley.
Oh, I'll have to turn the TV then.
What's going on?
Hi.
I am C. McPhee.
Today, me and Erin, we've been up since about 10 o'clock in the morning or something, debating this question. We phoned our mums, phoned everyone. So we're trying to understand whether humour is nature or nurture.
Humor. It's both, but it's mostly nature. In other words, you can have the funny beaten out of you by people who don't who countervalue it until you decide not to try to be funny anymore. If you're encouraged at all and have sort of a natural response to it, then if you are an ENTP, you're gonna end up trying to make jokes. And it's probably true for INTPs as well, although they're going to be more careful with it, and INFPs and ENFPs. If you've been shut down enough, you might stop, but then presumably if you get in a safe enough environment, you'll start to open up again. It's an extroverted intuition thing primarily. I personally think that comics, INFJs can be good comics too occasionally. Like that dude who liked to show his penis to women. What was his name?
I don't know.
That's not every dude. It's no, he's famous. He's a famous dude. Let me look at the chat. Who's that famous dude who showed his penis to women and got in trouble?
Oh, that's
Louis C.K. Louis C.K. Thank you.
I thought he said penis. I said word.
Yeah, he got in trouble for he was working with some women comics and he just whipped it out or something.
Oh God.
I don't know what goes through the heads of these people, but anyway, he's an INFJ. He's pretty funny, but by and large, your comics are going to be ENTPs, ENFPs, and INFJs. ENFP comics are funny for a little while, and then they get horrible, like Robin Williams or that English dude who used to go out with Katy Perry, who used to be married to Katy Perry.
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand, yeah. Terrible ENFP comedian.
Have you seen his YouTube videos? They're absolutely ridiculous.
I'm sure they're
Russell
awful.
Brand.
I have no doubt that they're completely unbearably awful. ENFPs have no business going in any sort of public policy thought at all because they're completely wrong about everything all the time.
He's got a stand-up called. He's got a stand-up called the Messiah Complex, and I think that explains a lot about him.
I mean, the thing is, of course, if he and I were to actually have a conversation on equal ground where we each have time slots afforded and argue our respective positions. I would leave him a bloody mess on the floor and walk away laughing about the appropriate consequence of his own stupidity. That guy pisses me off.
I don't like him. Who's good American comedians? Because I personally only really keep to British ones generally.
I don't know. I'm not an aficionado of comedians, especially. I can say that there's the guy who makes a joke about. There's one dude. I think maybe his name's Doug Stanhope. I'm not sure if I'm talking about the right guy, but he begins one of his routines with this joke that says, "Have you ever tried this? Have you ever tried going to bed sober?" He's kind of a drunk, you know. He's funny. I like him. I'm not sure if I have the name right, but mostly I can't stand stand-up comedians. I find them very cringy.
Me too. I find it very forced. It's not. I never find stand-up very, very funny. We went to see one stand-up. What's his name?
We saw Daniel Sloss.
Daniel Sloss. He's all right.
He's a Scottish stand-up.
Yeah.
I would very much like to try stand-up comedy. I think I'd be very hit and miss about it. If I was in a funny mood and I was, drugged up properly, I could absolutely kill at it. But if I'm not in the right mood, it's like the idea that I'd have to memorize and then deliver some sort of prepared shit is what makes the whole idea of comedy very frightening to me, because every time I'm funny, it's naturally occurring. It's not about like prepared jokes or whatever. Am I jealous? Of whom exactly?
Would you ever do improv?
I mean, the thing is, I'd be better at improv if I was by myself. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do like that awful kind of troupe improv. No, I don't want anybody else to work off of. But if I were gonna do stand up, I'd have a couple of general ideas that I wanted to cover, and then I'd get up there and see what it felt like to as I go, But that's what I'm saying. If I have to be in the right mood. If I were in a really funny mood, then I'd be funny regardless, and I'd succeed. But if I'm not, then it's like right now, if called upon to make everybody laugh, I would just be like, sorry, no can do, like the Hall & Oates song says.
Cloud just said, Lauren and you McPhee, how does it feel to talk to the future president of the United States?
Great.
I'm low-key jealous of ENFPs. I'm better suited for sit-down comedy. Pretty good line, 3-year at Nomad. So, the thing is, I do have some sense of basically what Legends Fall says, that I find stage improv cringy. It could be done well in theory, but it never is. I feel like I could do it, but it's such a high risk, high reward, high penalty art form. In other words, nothing's worse than failed comedy.
That's true.
Yeah.
Especially if they weren't to laugh, that would be even worse. Especially if you found it funny and you're the only one laughing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then again, the thing is, it's high reward. I've always found and still maintain that the best kind of feedback I I can ever possibly receive is when I make a joke and there's this little thing that I can see where their eyes like understand it, and then they reflexively burst into laughter, and there's no possible chance that it's like crafted or effy at all. That's the best feedback of all. It's like there's nothing more satisfying than that when I'm, I make a joke with some people around and they genuinely laugh very hard at it. It's like, ooh, that's a lot of effy juice right there. That is some good. That's some good payback, right? It's like,
That's true.
what's funny is most other media people end up gravitating towards thinking the coolest kind of feedback would be to be a rock star or some sort, So you see a lot of celebrities start bands and Eddie Murphy made that song, "My Girl Wants to Party All the Time."
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard it?
Have you? I've not. Have you? Eddie Murphy.
My Girl Wants to Party.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I've never seen that.
I'll hum a few bars for you, okay? My girl wants to party all the time, party all the time, party all the time. My girl wants to party all the time, party all the time, party all the time.
I think I might know that.
I'm not making it up. No, I'm not making it up. That's the actual song. Anyway, Eddie Murphy's big hit was "My Girl Wants to Party All the Time." And the thing is, of course, he was a comedian who was a successful comedian, and he thought, wow, it would be really cool to be a music person, right? But to me, the coolest thing to be, in other words, the most ninja thing you can do artistically, it's even possible, is to successfully do comedy. If you can successfully do comedy, that's as ninja as it gets.
That's true.
So the answer is nature.
Nature.
Yeah. And
I can still hear even when you can't see me.
can you tell if someone's doing a fake laugh? Because that's something that I like trying to figure out.
Yeah, I can. Or more importantly, I don't really notice when there's different grades. Primarily, people will have sort of a bolstered, honest reaction, kind of a laugh to something. If they're being effy about it, there's an occasion. You have to be able to live with an occasional courtesy laugh if you're going to make frequent jokes. ENTPs are naturally very trial and error, and I require in life in general a failure tolerant environment. But I think that's why comedy is the one medium that really kind of intimidates me. It's because there is no failure tolerance in comedy. There shouldn't be, and there isn't, because bad comedy is painful in the way that, say, a boring scene of a movie is not.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
Although boring things can be quite painful as well. But that's a different kind of pain. It's like, this is so slow.
No, I think that all movies are mostly painful. I'm not a fan of movies.
You don't like movies?
No, much to Eden's dismay, but I can't stand them.
Do you like anime?
Oh God, no. I like documentaries and anything that's under an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And School of Rock, obviously, the one movie I'll watch.
Can we Trifter? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means, Sean Ryan Barron. Why are INFPs most criticized personality type on online forums? Are they? Well, they're not the most criticized around here. I tend to be I never really say anything particularly bad about INFPs, except that they're I mean, it's not like they're gonna get a lot of stuff done for you, but that's fine. That's SE polar. Around here, I'd say the most criticized types are ENFP and ESFP. So if there's somebody that I'm ranting about how I hate them so much, a decent chance they're an ENFP. Like Russell Brand, and I also never liked Robin Williams. But the funny thing is, I really have a lot of respect for example, Rachel's dad. Rachel's dad has a goodness about him and like a pure emotionality to him that I value and appreciate. He's an ENFP, and I also, ENFP. It's like he's bad enough with me. I get very cryy pretty easily, but ENFP males are their eyes are constantly welling up with tears.
That's true. My boyfriend's an ENFP and he's always crying.
And I don't have any problem with that. I'm a big crybaby too. I cannot watch this haiku anime thing. I mean, it is dehydrating. I the whole time I've got this roll of paper towels here because I'm constantly crying, and not anything even is happening except dramatic high school sports moments. Like we've got to beat our rivals. I'm just like, oh my god, it's true. They have to beat their rivals. I hope they win. Cloud says, an ENTP can be successful if they are well respected. They break when people don't appreciate them, but disrespecting an ENFP only fuels them. Cloud, I mean, why do you call it rape face volleyball? Why would you call it that? What's rape face about it? It's the most innocent and wholesome anime I've ever seen. It's about, the key thing is it's got the central anime narrative, which is you've got the guy who's got a lot of passion and stick-to-itiveness, despite the fact that he doesn't have a lot of talent, and or has talent but some sort of deficit in this case. So it's like the guy's short, but he wants to play volleyball, but he can jump really high, and he's very Naruto-esque. And then, of course, you see them as they develop and eventually are going to win. But I like the show because in the first season, they don't win. They mostly lose, and that's kind of nice. It's realistic.
We're going to go back over to the chat now.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
God should make each personality type an equal quantity. You don't want that many ENTPs around. You really don't. It's like I was talking to this ENTP the other day. In fact, part 2 of our conversation is coming out at I think 10 o'clock this morning, and he was saying how why doesn't everybody just play more? If everybody would just play more, we'd all be happier or something. I said, no, dude. The only reason we can play is because other people don't play. It's like we need as few intuitives as possible and as many sensors as possible so that we can all be taken care of by sensors. It's not like we're very good at taking care of ourselves. I mean, even some of the sensors are bad at it. MC McPhee here. She's an ESTP. She'll be fine, but they have the same sort of like easily bored thing that ENTPs have and make it difficult sometimes for them to find a clear path as well. What we really need is mostly STJs and SFJs taking care of a very small number of the rest of us who just want to be man-child till we're 80 years old. You know? I need a flock of supporting sensors. It's a good idea there, Sean Ryan Barron. I like the fact that you call them a flock, but let's give them a more dignified name. Let's call them an assemblage. An assemblage of sensors. What are the group names for intuitives and sensors? So you got a flock of birds, you got your gaggle of geese, you got your whatever. Flock, no, sensors shouldn't be in a flock. We need to have a special word just for it, like a solidity of sensors. A solidity of sensors, huh? What do you think? A clusterfuck of sensors? No, not pack sensors. Packs that's too boring. A foundry of sensors. How about a foundry? Come on, Rennie Fox, work with me here. How about a foundry? A swarm of sensors? It makes them sound too much bee-like. Too bee-like. We need to come up with group names for each of the types. You're right. So Tiny Man 66 says a group of INFJs is a dorme. A dorme. Okay, look. Let me open a Google Doc so that we can make this chart. Okay. Group names for all 16 types, plus for intuitives and for sensors and for thinkers and feelers and every tip. There we go. So I'm going to make a chart with my finger. I'm going to use my chart making finger to make a chart. Group of is called mouthpiece. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. What am I missing? ESFPs? There. Okay. Now I'm going to share this. Okay. Please put your suggestions in the box. Please put your suggestions in the box. Look at this. You will see you are an editor on it, and you can add your suggestions in the appropriate box on the table. For example, you might say a group of ISFJs is called, a Karen of ISFJs. Or if you want to add another one, just put a space there. That's one suggestion. You might call them whatever. You get the idea. Try that. Yeah, just make a new space for yours. An oven full. I like an oven full of ISFJs a lot. That's a pretty good one. Townsperson B is further imprisoned with neither a name nor a line of dialogue. Townsperson B is relegated to nodding or murmuring agreement or opposition. No complex opinions, no fine distinctions. So, KD, can I just call you KD? Listen. Here's what you got to remember. Even Townsperson B has their own kind of awesome. So if you're a Townsperson B, you can still stand out on the stage. You just got to walk funny. As you're walking around, and people will be like, what's up with that Townsperson B? High hammer of ISTPs. That's a good one. I like that. After this chart's filled out, I'll make a separate video about this, and I'll put it up there when we get it all filled out. A hammer of ISTPs is great. It's so perfect. What do you think about a medal of an MEDDLE of ESFJs? You say a gossip of ESFJs is good too, but a meddling of ESFJs is a possible one too. An orgy of ESTPs, I like it. Or like an onslaught of ESTPs. A tear aqueduct of ENFPs. a teardrop pool of ENFPs. An outrage of ENFPs. A broship. I like broship a lot. That's good. Or a broload. A broload of ESTPs. A therapy session of INFJs. An absolution of INFJs. Sorry, CJ. I feel scolded. You must be an INFP, dude. To be able to so successfully scold me? Absolution of INFJs is the best. Yeah, I like that one, too. ISFPs would be like a retreat of ISFPs maybe, but I don't mean like runaway retreat. I mean like, like a sitting Zen retreat kind of thing. So maybe that's not a good one. It's too prone to misunderstanding. A sabbatical of ISFPs. What do you think about that? A Stalin of ENTJs. I like it. A martyrdom of ISFPs. Nice as well. Nice. I think we want to try, ideally, have it one word. I like the idea of Rainy Fox. I think we want to get it to one word. What about INFPs? What do you think about INFPs? A commiseration of INFPs? A depression? I think a commiseration of INFPs is pretty good. An anime of INFPs? A sunset of INFPs? That's very poetic. That's a good mean one, Lauren. I like that. That's the best mean one. A psych ward of INFPs. I think we're going to give a 2-word exception to Lauren McGinley's offering there. Psych ward being functionally enough one word. An innocence of INFPs. I like that too. A commiseration, an innocence, or a psych ward of INFPs. All of those are good. What type haven't we talked about so far? INTPs. A potentiality of INFPs, of INTPs. A squandary. A squandary of INTPs. And it's like, hey, look at all that potential squandered over there at that table. A hypomania of ENTPs. Oof. When I think about a bunch of ENTPs around a table, I just see this sort of like anime picture of a storm of black line, like scraggly lines all mashing together above them. An argument of ENTPs is probably the NI answer right there. A dust up. A fury? Yeah, I think you're giving us too much credit there. It's more like a dust up. Or like a squabble, a tussle. Yeah, a tussle of ENTPs or a squabble of ENTPs is a good one. A scream of ENFJs. How about like a vision of ENFJs? A Mufasa of ENFJs. A Mufasa of ENFJs is pretty fantastic. That's pretty great. An Oprah of ENFJs is not bad as well, but I like Mufasa better. A Mufasa of ENFJs. Oh yeah, we didn't do INTJs yet. A virginity of INTPs. An autism. A spectrum of INTJs. A clockwork of ISTJs, not bad. A tragedy of INFJs is That's a good negative one. A checklist of ISTJs, I like that. What did we come up with for ESTJs? Did we come up with anything? Like, it's you gotta have something about like a presumption of ESTJs. What about that? I think that's not a bad one. Okay. Well, I'm not sure what to do with SC test. I haven't given a lot of thought. You might be right there. Reflector. A scolding of ESTJs. I like that too. But it seems to add a little bit more FE to it. A lawn of ESTJs. A scalding pot of ESTJs. A dictatorship of ESTJs is not bad. I mean, let me tell you the thing that happens with my dad. Okay, so let's say like last night, Rachel and I had dinner with my dad. We had meatloaf. Let's say that dinner's at 6 o'clock, like it was. Sometimes my dad finishes the cooking early. He'll come out here at like 5:50 and say, where are you guys? It's dinner. We'll go, oh, sorry, we're coming, So, but yesterday, dinner's at 6 o'clock. We go in at 5:45 to watch a little bit of basketball beforehand. And of course we got, what are you guys doing here? Dinner's not till 6 o'clock. It's no win. There is no win situation. That Rachel, using her INFJ sort of notations of what's important and what's FE, reminded me a couple of times to call and invite Delilah to Thanksgiving, which I did. So I go inside and, I mentioned to my dad, I said, hey, by the way, Delilah's going to stop by, his beloved granddaughter, who he really does love a lot, stop by during Thanksgiving. Did anybody tell me about this? I've already ordered the food, I'm like, she's not expecting to eat here, Dad. She's just stopping by to chat with us and, hang out for an hour or so. And, okay, well, I don't even know if our food's going to even be here by then, It's like, oh, Jesus. There is no winning with this man. There is no winning. Well, my dad ordered Thanksgiving food. I offered to cook Thanksgiving dinner. And he's like, so we're going to get food from Coco's. Okay. Just a grumple lump. A grumple lump of ESTJs. An ultimatum of ESTJs. Both those are great. Well, I mean, nothing could beat yesterday. Nothing could beat yesterday morning when I'm fast asleep and my dad just opens the door, comes straight in, and starts talking to me about how one of the lights is out on my car. And where's my owner's manual and stuff. And I'm like, well, do you have an owner's manual? I said, I don't know, Dad, if it's in the car. Will you answer the question? I did. I don't know is the answer. A Horcrux of INFPs. It's a little Harry Potter. A little too Harry Potter. We haven't done ESFPs yet. Adate bio. If we're going to do the equivalent, adate bio of ESFPs. Eric is a fan. An apocalypse of ESFPs. A holocaust of ESFPs. A migraine of ESFPs. A whorehouse of ESFPs. I like a holocaust of ESFPs. I think that's if you're gonna have a bad word one, a clusterfuck of ESFPs is if any type deserves to be called a clusterfuck of them. A herd, a stampede. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks everybody for participating in the thing here. I see I've got quite a few examples to choose from, and I will put together this, probably rewatch this, put together a list of the best ones, and make a video on this. Okay. Thanks everybody. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.